let's start off real quick, because what I'm saying is controversial without context. What I'm trying to sound the alarm to the conservative side and to, maybe Christians or whatever, is a lot of people think that Trump is going to win in November, and when he wins, everything's just going to really get better, or the left's going to riot and protest or whatever. But what I'm trying to explain is people have been so excited by him on the right and maybe the Christian side that they think that they have no work to do, that President Trump will get rid of all their enemies and the world's just going to be amazing in like 3 years and they're not going to have to do anything. And the reason I think that's not true, albeit I hope that Trump does do some good stuff, and I think he already has, is if you look at this country right now, if you look at every major company, you look Nike, Adidas, Reebok, even Chick-fil-A, you thought you had one company on your side, you don't. Every single company is against you ideologically, many are against you politically. Every company, every mass media company, except for maybe Fox News and One American News Network, and Fox is slowly shifting. Part of it and its other ventures have been already bought and purchased, and the sons of who runs Fox seem to be a little more liberal leaning, allegedly. So every institution in America is against you. Most of academics, the entire school system at this moment is not really on your side. So even if Trump wins in November, it's not going to change. He's not going to be able to change every company. He's not going to be able to change every school. There's going to be good news at the end. Don't think I'm fear-mongering. He can't change the culture this quickly, and he can't change every institution. And what we saw this year, I tried to make a lot of videos on COVID-19 because I tried to explain it's not just a virus. Obviously, it's a virus. Viruses are not good, but it just changed American life forever. They shut down the economy. So a year ago, how do you stop Trump? I mean, you could talk racist, sexist, whatever, but his economy's good. Black unemployment's down, Hispanic unemployment's down, woman unemployment's down. When the economy's good, it's really hard to lose presidency. Somehow a virus just magically, naturally appeared to take the economy down. So now he doesn't have a strong economy. But this has now set the precedent of what's going on. Before, if they would have acted how they're acted right now, everyone would have just been like, what are you doing? But because of COVID-19, what can companies do at any point? They could pretty much do anything. They could shut down, they could stop working. And if you look around the country, nearly every major corporation and company is aligned with the Marxist communist movement, which they're disguising in, black activism. Sometimes they disguise it in environmentalism. Sometimes they disguise it in women's rights. They have a sneaky way to disguise it, because if they just came out and told you what they were doing, it would not be as popular. So even if Trump wins in November, he can't just take over every single company, and you wouldn't want him to. So I think a lot of people, and there's a silver lining at the end, a lot of people think he's going to win and everything's just going to get amazing and he's going to solve anything. But not only is Christianity under attack, conservative under attack, America's under attack, and it's not going to change until people step up. And this is the good part of it, is in a lot of conservative circles with a lot of right-wing pundits that I pay attention to, and you guys probably watch, it's all celebration. We're winning, the left is losing, we're the best, they're the worst, we're going to win, liberal tears, they're going to cry, we're going to drink their tears or whatever. And it's fun, I guess, I don't really enjoy it, but it's fun for some people to think that they're winning all the time and that there's nothing that they have to do. They could just sit back and win, and they don't actually have to become the change themselves. And I kind of explained some of this stuff last year. A lot of people didn't want to hear it. When it was unpopular, when the economy was good, when everything was great, I tried to explain to people who a lot of these top conservatives are, not just in Trump's administration, but in the right-wing media. A lot of these people are massive hypocrites, and I don't like to call people out. I don't like drama. But if they say they're pro-free speech and they're actually selling out free speech and working with lobbyists to basically undermine America, to lower your wage and doing all this anti-American stuff, it's going to add up eventually. When you have two parties that don't care about you, you know the Democratic Party doesn't care about you. You know that the liberal media doesn't care about you. You know that celebrities don't care about you. But what people didn't know until this year, and they didn't want to hear last year, was most Republicans actually don't care about you either. And most people in Republican media are just placekeepers to pretend like they're doing the stuff you want them to do, but behind closed doors, they're literally selling you out. And last year, people said, no, Anomaly, you don't get it, we're going to win. Look at this year. COVID-19, economy shut down, everyone's wearing masks. It seems like you live in a third world country. If you live in a city, can't open up your business, boarded, and now you have riots and protests and racism like we've never seen in this country systemically against certain people solely because of their skin color. And this is what happens when people don't step up. And the reason I'm saying this is not to fearmonger. It's not to make people scared. It's not to make people hopeless. It's to tell you, and it's a freeing thing, is you can't rely on politicians to save you. You can't rely on Trump to save you. It's going to have to come from the people. We've watched this year. Someone said Tucker's calling him out too. I told you last year as well. Tucker is phenomenal. He's the best journalist. The difference between Tucker Carlson and Hannity, in entertainment value, they're very similar. In real value, Tucker's here, Hannity's here. I'm not knocking Hannity. He seems like a nice guy. But Hannity's a showsman. He's a right-wing, commentator. Tucker's the real deal. If you want truth, if you want somebody who's going to call out both sides, that's your guy. He's the best guy on TV. That's why they want him gone. He's the last real analyst who actually thinks critically. On that note, people think that it's all going to go away with the Trump win. It's not. It's going to have to come from us. It's going to have to come from millions of people protecting themselves. We saw this year the government's not going to do it. The Democrats aren't going to do it. Apparently, the Republicans are just going to sit back and play the game and just ignore it. And the police are going to be overwhelmed, understaffed, underfunded, defunded. I'm not really sure. But, at a certain point, it's going to have to come from the churches themselves. If you're a church and you're being attacked, listen, I'm not the be-all, end-all. And, I should, I guess, own my own church if I want to really talk the talk. But how are you going to let people just deface your church? I mean, at a certain point, security guards, we'll GoFundMe. We'll send a GoFundMe if you need money to get, high, trained security to protect it. But, you're seeing all this stuff kind of come crashing down. And I think it's because so many people just ignored this stuff for so long and just thought that somebody else would save them. Maybe it was going to be this party or that party or this leader. And the truth is, even if Trump wins this next election, they've set the precedent to shut businesses down whenever. They've set the precedent to discriminate. They've set the precedent to really focus on certain things in the media, bang down at you and act like it's not happening and push further and further and further and further. And the good news is it stops when enough people wake up and enough people stop buying it and enough people stand up for themselves. And that's what it's going to have to be. When it comes to Christians in this country, I'm actually going to have a really fun talk later. I scheduled with my buddy Andrew Meyer. He's an Orthodox Jew, and my buddy Nabil, who is a Muslim. We're going to have a conversation, a Christian, a Muslim, and a Jew. I think is phenomenal. I'm excited for it. They're both very bright minds, very good people. So, I'm going to have a conversation with them so you can see into the head of a Muslim and a Jew as well as me. But also, Christians in America and in Europe have been very weak over the last couple hundred years. And it's led to this point. You see a lot of these Christian leaders, they don't even believe in Christianity half the time. They're political activists for, left-wing movements. And there's almost no one to call them out. There's almost no one to stand against them. People are afraid. I understand why. But the reason I'm saying this is, once again, not to fearmonger. I just want people to know systemically, the entire system at this point is almost all against you. And that's not a bad thing necessarily, but this idea that Trump's going to win in November and this stuff's just going to magically change, he can't take over every company. The banking system's been sold out since the 1900s. Mass media is still going to be that way. There's going to have to be a ground up shift. That's the only way it's going to happen. And if too many people that are conservative just sit back and think that Trump winning is going to shift the culture, it's really not. He's helping, but I see it in a different way. People say, no, Anomaly, you're a bad person, or you're a fearmonger, he's got it. to me, it looks selfish. To me, I see you just latching on to Trump's back and saying, just dragging him down, being like, do everything for me. The guy's 70-something years old. He's going to need help. He's going to need actors who defect and who say, you know what? My integrity and my truth and God is more important than my paycheck. It's going to take people like the guy who worked at the content team for Facebook, who recently, said, hey, I think that the Facebook is being biased. It's going to take people at Google who've done that as well. Enough people on the ground level standing up for their own churches, standing up for their own community, standing up for their own business, and realizing that, bravery pays off just as much as being a coward. Probably pays off more. So it's going to take more than that. And I think people see it as, we have two different ideologies where they see it as Anomaly questions Trump, or Tucker Carlson questions Trump, and they question Republicans, and, how dare them not just go to Turning Point events and yeehaw. But I see it as like, you guys are just riding the coattails of somebody who's very old, and he's not going to be here forever, and he can't do anything. The Supreme Court's against him. The judges are against him. The Congress is against him. Even half his own friends are against him. Every company is working for them, and there's no way to just magically turn them into people who agree with you politically or socially. It's not going to happen. So if he wins, now that we have the president of what they've done, the shutdown, the riots, the looting, they're going to have to face some resistance. And I would say that the positives are, a lot of the strongest people are on your side, but a lot of the strongest people are also the nicest people. Christianity, in my opinion, I'm not going to compare. I think, Islam and Judaism can be nice as well, but like Christians are super nice, where like you have Islam, when they come to Europe or America, they don't put up with this nonsense. Like a lot, like if you have an Islamic sect in the UK, they follow their own rules and they do their own thing. And if liberals come in and try to like defile their schools, Muslims are like, nah, you're not going to do this here, sorry. And liberals get afraid of Muslims because they're like, oh no, we don't want to seem racist or whatever. So same with, in New York City and other places, a lot of these Jewish, Orthodox and Hasidic Jews, they don't listen to Bill de Blasio. They don't listen to the state. God knows what they're doing, but I respect them for not listening, to be honest. They do their own thing and say, no, this is how we feel. We don't care how you feel. So Christians in their own countries that they semi-own, which was Europe and America, Christians can't even stand up for themselves when they have a majority or when it's their own homeland. They give it up to every other ethnicity, every other religion. Religion, not ethnicity, because it's not an ethnic. But you get what I'm saying. And they just like fall flat, where like even Chick-fil-A, the one Christian organization that has any clout in America, they're buying into like the Marxist propaganda as well. And I just see it as it's going to be a rocky road, but in times of great, trial and tribulations, that's when you build character. That's when you come out, and that's when you can shift. The Renaissance, World War I, World War II, there's always rises, there's always falls, there's always pros, there's always cons. It's nothing to fearmonger about. It's nothing to be scared of. The fear is how they control you. The cowardice is how they use you. But at a certain point, what I've been trying to say as well is the safe route is not safe. The safe route is just going to dwindle and dwindle and dwindle. These people are coming. These people are angry. These people are wicked. These people are filled with negative feelings, and nobody's stopping them, and everybody's rewarding them for their wicked ways. And it's only going to stop when people stand up for themselves. So when enough people stand up, they'll stop. And that, on a microcosm level, if people vandalize statues and everybody's just tearing down statues and they get rewarded for doing so or nothing happens, they're not going to stop. If you start, like Trump talked about, I don't know if he can even do it, but he said, I'm going to throw you in prison for 10 years. Defiling a federal building is a massive crime, as it should be. I mean, I'm no pro-government, pro-police fanatic, but it's like if you tear down a historical statue, you should go to prison. So send these people to prison and they'll stop doing it. You let them do it, they do it. And that's a microcosm on what we have to do on a big scale. It's like people get away with things because enough people let them get away with them. And they sit in the corner and they say, well, I don't want to speak out because, the mob will get me. But they're coming anyway. They're not stopping. Even with a Trump win. People said, well, if Trump wins and the Senate and the House go red, it would be better than going blue, but in a way, it's not going to stop these people. Every company's against you. The banking system has been, in control of the Federal Reserve since the 1917s. And Lenin had said, there's a Lenin quote that says, 90% to communizing a country is establishing a central bank. That's why this is all going downhill anyway. They've taken over the money supply. In some senses, they know if you have a central bank, you're almost fully to communism. And then mass media is not on your side, academia is not on your side. You could have a red wave Republican House, Senate, and presidency, but every major city, New York, Seattle, Los Angeles, they're all blue. They have some of the biggest tech companies on their side. Like a faucet, they could just turn the economy off and tank the entire country, which they literally did this year. It's not like a maybe they could do that. They did do that this year. They had a basically controlled demolition of the economy because they have that much power. So the optimistic view of this is just stand up for yourself. When you put your faith into politicians and, humans in charge, you're going to get misled and you're going to get disappointed. If you put your faith in God and you put your faith in yourself and you understand nobody's going to save you, it's actually a freeing feeling, because if you think things are going to go a different way and they don't, you're disappointed. You're like shocked. You're like, what? Like me, when this COVID-19 stuff happened, I told people in like March or February, I was like, guys, buy some groceries. If you got to travel, I'm guessing it's going to be harder to travel for the next few months. I saw it coming. I was upset a little. I wasn't expecting this whole thing, but I wasn't surprised because I know how both parties are. I know who's in charge and I know how little power we have. So I was like, whatever. If you're expecting them to save you and then you realize your churches are getting defiled, your statues are getting toppled, and Republicans are celebrating Juneteenth or something, like Mike Pence is like, I'm celebrating Juneteenth. Like, okay, so that's nice of you, but it's like the strong party is not strong. The other party is just ruthless. So it's actually a beautiful thing. Not that it's happening, but if you just tune out of all the nonsense and the WWE stuff and stand up for yourself, I think that's the way to do it. I'm going to take some comments in a second, but I also just want to say with the COVID stuff as well, I'm not saying it's WWE. I'm not saying there's not good people in politics, but if you look at the data, I have 10, 20 videos on it. I crunched it down, guys. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not a physicist. I'm not a math doctorate major, but I'm not a moron. And the data is available for everybody, even the skewed data, the real data, the fake data. It's all there. I've been crunching numbers for the last 2 months. As the virus got less deadly, they started putting more regulations into place and they started boosting up. When the virus was at its most deadly, they said, don't wear a mask, even in the middle of the pandemic. When we realized it was really not that big of a deal on terms of what they originally thought it was, they started mandating all this stuff. Do you think it's a coincidence? I'm just asking that you're now dressed like a criminal. If you saw somebody with a bandana on their face and, just like walking into a bank, you would be like, that's a criminal. Like, why would you wear a bandana in a bank? You're not allowed to do that. Now they're making you wear bandanas in the bank while they're telling people to protest and loot and riot, and they're totally okay with statues being defiled, and you can't see their face because their faces are covered. Guys, I can't, I'm not saying this is planned per se, but it's like there's nobody fighting for us. I told you in April, May, June, I'm crunching the numbers. Trump's on television making up things that aren't true. He's saying he's still doing it. Millions of people would have died. Fauci's popular. Fauci's still my guy. He's still supporting Fauci. He's still talking about the numbers. He's still saying millions of people would have died. So even the guy that you think's fighting for you is still not even remotely countering the COVID narrative at all. So I don't understand how that we're going to get right if there's not a single Republican that's actually showing you the data and the stats about the death rate, the mortality rate, the real spread rate. Penn State, I believe, or Penn did a study recently where they're like, yeah, it's way more spread. The whole science of how viruses work is not that crazy. It's like, yes, they spread. Yes, they're bad. Herd immunity happens at a certain point. Your immune system is a real thing. they're suppressing your immune system. They're making your immune system worse with every product they sell, with all the fear that they pump into the media, with all the strategies they're telling you to do. Don't go outside and go here. And then, yeah, people are going to get more sick when your immune system's hurt. And if you're immune compromised, or you have multiple health issues, or you're older, you're more susceptible to viruses like everybody is. I mean, no one's invincible. When you're 90, it's going to be harder to get pneumonia than it is when you're 20. I mean, that's just how science works. No one's explaining it. Nobody's standing up against it. Nobody's fighting against it. With the statues, they're tweeting, they're talking. I'm not being a downer about it, but the silver lining, and then we're going to get to comments, is stand up for yourself. If you own a church, stand up for your own church. If if you're in a place where you don't feel like you're being respected, leave. That's how, it reminds me of the Sodom and Gomorrah story, where it's like, I felt like major cities have been turning into that for years, and I probably should have left earlier. But, it's like, if you want to do this in Seattle and stuff, get out of there. Let them do it to themselves, because they're going to attack themselves. After they can't attack you anymore, that's their ideology. It's not an uplifting ideology. It's Marxist communist ideology, which in theory sounds good, but in reality becomes a point blame fest. You're this, you're that. You get rid of that race, and now you're this, you're that. You get rid of that person. Now you only have, people of color, and now you're mad at black men because they're too masculine. It's an attack on masculinity just as much as it's an attack on Christianity, an attack on certain ethnicities. As soon as they get rid of them, then it's on to the next victim fest. These people are never going to stop until they're stopped, whether it's on a federal level, on a local level, on a church level, whatever it is. But we definitely need more people standing up. Like I said today, somebody sounded the alarm and talked about what they thought Facebook was doing from inside at a content company loosely related to them. People have done it at Google. We need more celebrities. I understand it's tough. I understand there's backlash, but what people also don't understand is there's backlash anyway. And I want to tell a story just for myself. Obviously, I get backlash. Anybody public does. But to be honest, I don't get as much backlash as some other people, because I've already kind of explained who I am. I explain myself. So for the most part, people know. If you're not, you'll always be on the fence. You didn't post this, you didn't post that. It's no way to live. These people are just going to keep closing down on you, closing down on you, closing down on you. They're not going to stop until they're stopped. So, the safe route is not safe. And I've explained that as well, because a lot of people for years have been like, why do you say that? Aren't you scared of saying that? Guys, you're more likely to get hit in the head with like a hammer than you are to be assassinated for saying what you're saying. You're more likely to get in a car accident. You're more likely to die of fentanyl. It's not that scary. To me, it's scary not saying anything, being surrounded by psychos who are closing in on you, and you can't say how you feel. You can't, and then they hate you because of your skin color, or they hate you because of your gender, or they hate you because of your politics. That's no way to live. That's 100 times scarier than just saying how you feel. And I know it's tough. It comes at a cost. But that's why we are where we are. It's decades of nobody doing anything. It's decades of telling people they can say this stuff. And you're experiencing bigotry and hatred and nastiness from people who claim they're fighting it. It's a pattern that's not going to end. But that's kind of my prediction / semi-warning in a nice, calm, not fear-mongering way, is people who think they're just going to sit back and vote for Trump and it's all going to go away. There's no chance. There's no chance that it all goes away. Even if he did what you think he's going to do by holding some people accountable, it's still not going to change the culture. It's going to take years. It's going to take real leaders. It's going to take rappers, entertainers, directors, high-level people in entertainment, high-level people not just in politics, but in culture, academia, companies, to come out and say enough is enough. There's going to be backlash, but to be honest, there's going to be backlash anyway. So either you're a coward and you get popped in a couple of years, or you stand up for yourself and you be part of the cultural shift in America back to a country that's prosperous, back to a country that's free. This country's not free right now. I mean, I'm not trying to complain, but it's like you walk down the street, it's like a third world country. Everything's boarded up, everything's vandalized, the whole city has gone to trash. I go inside, I put on this stupid mask because they're gonna get mad, and then they say, "Oh, don't touch the screen. Can you put a a tissue on your hand before you pay for this stuff. There's a huge barrier in front of my face. Guys, this is a joke. Look at the death mortality rate of this virus. It's nowhere near justification for all this stuff. And to be quite honest, if you talk about barriers, you're putting a barrier right in front of your face. You're putting a cloth right in front of your face. If you spit in the cloth and put it on your face, it has consequences. If you have a barrier there, you're collecting dirt, you're collecting germs, your face is 2 feet away from a barrier all day. That's not healthy. There's no science behind it. Yeah, don't spit on somebody. Cover your mouth and don't sneeze or spit on somebody. That's real. But this idea that barriers can't touch anything, I mean, we're living in a dystopian nightmare. America's not a free country anymore, and there's not 10 Republican leaders that are talking about it, including the president. When has he said this is getting ridiculous? He doesn't. He just keeps repeating their nonsense, and he's a little bit better. The Republicans are definitely a little bit better. They're going to get my vote, unfortunately, because they're, at minimum, I think, shiftable and not totally compromised. But at the end of the day, it's like, what is this? This whole country is just so embarrassing right now. And it's not a result of Trump. It's not a result of the Democrats or Black Lives Matter. It's a result of hundreds of millions of people allowing it to happen. My buddy, I'll give you another story and then I'm going to read comments. My one buddy is a battle rapper. He's one of the best battle rappers ever. He came out recently and just messaged me and said like, hey, I appreciate your videos, whatever. And, we were talking about it, and his dad owns a business. He showed up with a gun and protected his dad's business, and no one looted it. Like, that's why they don't like families. It's like he was there for his dad, and nobody robbed his store. That's what every church should be doing. That's what every business should be doing. I know it's easier said than done. I don't own a business. I don't own property. So, it's easier for me to say that than to do it. But at the same time, if I owned a church or I was really a part of a church and I knew people were coming around, I'd go protect it, or said the owner needs to. It's like we've allowed this to happen. You can't blame the protesters. You can't blame Trump. You can't blame the Democrats. This is us. This is 40 years of negligence. This is, decades of just weakness. And this is when push came to shove, who's really there? Who's really fighting against not just the physical of what's happening, but the ideology of what's happening. The same conservatives that I've watched for years and I knew they were phonies, they're the ones playing into the cultural Marxism. They're the ones playing into and Google will say that's like a right-wing conspiracy theory. Marxism is real. The people pushing the culture right now are admitted Marxists. I don't understand how it's a theory. They're bragging about it, and that's what culture is, and then that's what Marxism is, and you combine them, that's where the word comes from. But, in general, it's like at a certain point, that's how I'm feeling. Let me know how you guys feel. God bless you, and all will be good. Before I get to comments, just understand the world always goes like this. It's like in good times, it creates weak men. Hard times create strong men. So at a certain point, it's a thrill. You can't get upset about it. It's thrilling to have some action sometimes. So I know it's a little disappointing what's going on, but it's going to change. It's going to get better. Just act accordingly. That's all I'll say. And I said the same thing for the COVID shutdown. I didn't fearmonger. I didn't tell everybody martial law, we're all going down. I just said, guys, I think this is going to happen. Act accordingly. If you want to have some food, get some food. If you want to, do this. But do it soon because, it might be harder to do in a few months. That's all it is. It's not fear. It's not paranoia. It's just, act accordingly. If you want to stay where you're at, stay where you're at. If you want to leave, leave. But that's how I feel. Let me see. Someone said, even Trump isn't the solution, he's the best option. Absolutely. And it's not a knock at him, but he's one guy. He can't shift every business. He can't shift every company. He can't shift the schools. He can only do so much. It's arguable. Is he doing enough? Is he not doing enough? But he's not the solution. It has to be people. That's the point I'm really trying to make, because so many people just say they latch on to Trump. It's like their whole identity. He's going to do it for me. No, if you're latching on to Trump, but you're not doing anything, you're dragging him down. It's like, people got to step up. They see it as loyal. I'm a loyal patriot. I see it as selfish. It's like you're expecting Daddy Trump to solve all your world's problems. There's no way he could solve it. It's not possible. He needs your help. He needs our help to be part of it. That's how I see it. I think it's selfish. It's not loyal. Thank you, April. Thank you, Casey. I appreciate you guys. Someone said, Marcus said, why do you wear a mask? I don't wear a mask. I only do it in certain Ubers or, certain times. Like, I ask them every time, I'm like, you could take your mask off. Most of the time they take their mask off, but sometimes they're like bugging out. I wanted to get a coffee this morning. I went in and they tell me to put a paper towel. I did it for 5 seconds. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, though, I'm not going to go there again because they did that. So, I act accordingly. But at certain points, I do it for temporarily when I have to. Someone said a lot of people are suffering from isolation, depression. Absolutely. To me, too, this is like a real... It's frustrating because the people at the top are not dumb. But, like, the people at the bottom are not the smartest, so they think they're fighting for George Floyd. It's like, no, these people have AI algorithms and technology you wouldn't even believe, and now they're putting you in this dystopian world where you're isolated. They want to isolate you. They want you to feel they're just going to replace people with computers, and no one's even going to notice. It's like this was part of, a bigger chess move for them, and everyone's like, oh, I'm avenging his death. It's like, no, they're using you like little tools. Because that's how dumb people are. They don't even understand communism or Marxism. They'll literally try to tear statues. It's like the people, they're isolating people. They're lowering their immune systems. There's all sorts of science that proves the negative on top of the positive health effects. Of course, isolation has an effect on you. It's horrible for humans, isolating yourself. It's terrible. It's wicked what these people are doing. And that's when I said before as well, it's evil. And Republicans are in on it. Name 10 Republicans who have complained about the isolation. None of them. The whole thing is wicked. So how can I assume a party or a leader's fighting for me when he allowed people to be isolated for 4 months, the economy to be imploded, doesn't fight against all these screens? They're ruining the country, guys. Cruises are never going to be the same, half capacity, plastic things in front of your face. You might as well not even go anymore. I was supposed to go on a cruise in September. It got canceled, but it's like, am I even going to want to go anymore? Is it going to be like a vacation or is it going to be like a prison? I'm going on vacation. I'm not trying to go to a prison where there's plastic in front of my face. You got to do all this stuff. They're ruining the country under the guise of science. Oh, how could you question the experts in the science? Guys, they've been proven liars. Lancet, which is one of the most prestigious infectious disease communities, they got caught completely fumbling a hydroxychloroquine study. Why? Because Trump touted hydroxychloroquine, and these people are wicked. They hate Trump so much, they'll sabotage science. And this should be a wake-up call to what they've been doing for the past decade. All their settled science, a lot of it is just, these people don't care. They'll say, you can't go out and start your business. People can attack you, tear down your statues, but 20,000 people in the streets for my causes is more healthy because of racism. These are wicked, sick, twisted, demon-inspired people, whether they know it or not. They need God. They need some love in their life. They need something because they're filled with wicked thoughts and wicked deception. These are people that the whole system right now, and I hate to be negative about it, but it reminds me of, like, say a city. I've lived in different places. I've lived in, middle income, higher income, lower income. I've seen it all in my life. I've been blessed. I've been cursed. But if you're in a nice area, everything's nicer because the Taco Bell's nicer, the 7-Eleven's nicer, everything's nicer because you're a net sum of your people. So if you're in a nice area, regardless of the income, a place where people just don't commit crimes and aren't degenerates, then you're going to have nice things around. That's just how the world works. So in nice areas, everything's nice, including the lower, the things that wouldn't be nice in other places. Flip that, you go to bad parts of the city, the Taco Bells are like disgusting and you wouldn't even want to go there, you don't even feel safe. The 7-Elevens are just a haven for crackheads and people who are looking to steal stuff and just sit outside and ask for money. You're a net sum of your people. So America is a net sum of our people on the whole, and our people are declining. So everything's going to decline, and there's nothing Trump can really do about it. I'm talking about on a microcosm. Yes, 7-Elevens, Taco Bell are going, but like Boeing, every company, every company in the country is declining. This whole Google, they're all being infiltrated with people who don't care about content, who don't care about production, who don't care about quality, who don't care about you, who don't like the country that they're in, who don't like the customers that they're thing. So there's going to be more sabotaging. There's going to be more delinquent stuff. Our country is being destroyed from within, and there's nothing the president can do about it. Doesn't matter if he wins. Doesn't matter if all Republicans are going to win. We need strict law and order, absolutely. But the damage has already been done. So you see a city, once more good people leave and more crappy people are attracted to it, everything declines. Every restaurant, every street, every 7-Eleven. That's just how it works. You're a net sum of your people. So, if we don't have high quality people here, we don't have high quality results. And the left's agenda of, the affirmative action, unions, you can't fire this person needs to be hired because of their sexuality, this person needs to be hired because of their race, it's only going to further decline it, because it's just sending the message of, we don't care how good you are at your job, we don't have high quality, we want you because of who you are. And what type of people does that attract? Why does Huffington Post and BuzzFeed, why did they get sued by the people they hired? Because they don't hire good people. They hire people based on, their skin color, and then they get fired because they don't do good work, and then they sue because they think it's racism that Huffington Post fired them, when in reality, it was actually their ethnicity that got them hired in the first place. It's the opposite. These people are living in an opposite world. They think there's no consequences for anything that they do. They think they can sabotage police officers, put things in their drink, delete them off of television. These are wicked people, and it's not going to get... It's going to get worse before it gets better, and President Trump's just not going to save you. I'm just saying, it's okay if you realize that and you act, but I feel like right now, there's millions of people who support the president that are ready to do something, and then there's tens of millions of people who just ride his coattails. He's going to win in 2024 and 2028, and Don Jr. is going to win, and Ivanka Trump and Nikki Haley. It's like, guys, you're not living in reality. First of all, Nikki Haley and Ivanka, not who you want in the White House. If you think they're your leaders, you're in for a rude awakening regardless. But in general, it's like, he's not even poised to win this next election. The odds of Trump winning and the House and the Senate going red are almost not going to happen at all. I'm not saying he's not going to win. I think he will. But however, it's like this pipe dream of he's going to save the whole country and you don't have to do anything. You could just sit back and watch him. No, guys, it's in the streets. It's in the hearts. It's in the minds. It's in the souls of hundreds of millions of people. We could shift it. We could turn it around, but it's going to take years. Someone said that's why service sucks everywhere. Oh, without question. Without question. You go to a nice area or a nice institution, everything operates privately because they make sure it operates privately. You go to a Trump hotel or a nice complex or a nice, a company that values service, it's going to be phenomenal. But at the end of the day, your city, your suburb, your town is a net sum of the people there. So you go into the nice areas, the Taco Bells are nicer. You go into the crappy areas, the Taco Bells are crappier. We have the right wing tries to do it, but it's raise the bar. We don't care about your ethnicity, skin color. We want nice things. Who wants to live in a bad area? Who wants to have who wants their Jack in the Box to look like a prison inside? Crackheads and crime happening no one wants that. Who in their right mind wants that? Nobody. But liberals don't understand that. They just drag you down to the lowest common denominator, make excuses for it, and attack you if you try to raise the bar. Every city is going to crap, guys. I'm not trying to fearmonger, but it's Sodom and Gomorrah times 10. These people, there's no possible way that this is going to incline. Conservatives are going to leave them. They're going to just defile in their own filth, and it's just going to consistently get worse. And everywhere it's going to get worse, because how they do it is they make you follow their rules. Here, you take this, you do this, you do this. So it's like little ticking time bombs where they just ideologically just take the nice areas and slowly make them. So in LA, I've seen the bad areas, some bad areas have gotten better, but overall, certain areas have got more trash, and the nice areas got semi-trashed, and the trashy areas got trashier. It's like a decline. The best areas go down, the lower areas go down. This is left-wing ideology. They don't understand why. They're not honest enough or strong enough. I don't understand what it is. It's not compassion. It's foolishness. It's not kindness. It's weakness. And weakness and foolishness gets taken advantage of. So I don't see this changing, even with a whole Republican leadership. That's that's the cold hard truth that people don't want to admit, because they think the president is going to like be a superhero and save their whole life. Like, you got to save yourself. You have to step up. You can't be a coward and just ride Trump's coattails for 8 years. It's not going to save America. Someone said, do you think we're in the end days? I mean, I don't know about that. I'm not going to go that far, but at the end of the day, there's nothing to be afraid about, whether it's the end times or not. As far as we know, you're born, you get older, and then you die, and then hopefully you go to heaven. But you know, there's no reward for being a coward. That's why I don't understand. Like, people are like, Anomaly, aren't you afraid of doing that? Like, dude, I'm 30. Like, at this point, I have good years left. Hopefully, I have decades of good years left. But like, aren't you getting older? Aren't you gonna die eventually? Like, you think if you're a coward, you're gonna live till you're 300 and you're not gonna age? You're gonna age anyway, and then you're gonna die like everyone else. So what's the point of being a coward? Like, there's no reward for being a coward. You don't get anything. You don't get superpower. You probably die quicker. Your soul probably withers up a lot faster than mine. So, you know, I'm aging out here like fine wine. No, I'm just kidding. But you get what I'm saying? I don't understand the logic behind, like, aren't you afraid that COVID-19 and riots are happening and you're like afraid to do anything? I don't know. It's like it's not getting better for anybody else, just like randomly. I'm just gonna sit back and I don't see it, but whatever. What's up, Charles? Frank said law and order needs to be restored. Absolutely. It absolutely needs to be restored. That's huge. And that's what really separates nice areas from not. And when you have that, it breeds excellence. I mean, these degenerates need to be put in their place. Listen, I'm the last person I thought would have said that. I grew up on hip-hop music. You know, I've always been into that culture. I still, in some ways, am. I'm the last person who I ever thought would have done this. But at a certain point, if you're not a total loser, you hit a certain age, like, where do you want to live? Do you want to live in filth, or do you want to live somewhere nice? And it doesn't have to do with money, guys. I've been to areas that are not necessarily high income. It's the net sum of your people, okay? It's like a festival or a concert. You go there, there's every ethnicity, there's every religion, but the type of music determines what type of people go there. If you go to like the most ignorant rapper's concert, or you go to a J. Cole concert, it's going to be night and day. You go to a Bob Marley concert, it's going to have a different vibe than an ignorant rapper's concert. And I'm not knocking it. You can go see an ignorant rapper, but you get what I'm saying? It's the mindset. You go to a Stephen Marley concert or a Damian Marley concert, or you go to a Kendrick Lamar concert. I'm sorry, it's just a different mindset, because the people there listen to that music and that's what they program their minds with. And there's a difference between someone who's wise and just a moron who's just, you know, not saying anything. So that's what people think it's a money thing. It's a cultural thing. And that's why it doesn't matter if Trump wins at this point, because the culture has already been written. And that's why I'm not running for politics, because it doesn't matter. Politicians can't do anything. It's got to be a cultural shift. It's got to be a mindset shift. And it's got to start from within. Like, regardless of where you grow up, your mind's going to determine where you lead. Some of it's genetic, some of it's, nature versus nurture. But a lot of it is, how much you earn. There's people with massive high IQs who end up as crackheads and kill themselves. And then there's people that are probably not smart that end up with $100 million. It's not all like you have to be a rocket scientist wizard to get far in life. You just have to have a good mindset. You have to be a decent person, and you'll get rewarded for doing that stuff. Working hard, being persistent, being nice, but not being weak. That's a recipe for success, regardless of where you start from. Let's see. Corey said, do you think homeschooling experiences forced by COVID could lead to a positive change? For sure, yeah. I think there's silver linings all over the place. Absolutely. I think homeschooling out of government schools could probably lead to a lot of kids being a lot more normal. Yeah, there's a bunch of beautiful things. It's not all negative, and it never is. I just wanted to let people know that, because I think that's a tough truth. But yeah, absolutely, I think that could be a good thing. Let me see. Elisa said, my grandmother grew up during the Depression and always said I was poor, but my kids were always clean. Teach your kids how to pick up trash in the street. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, my grandfather used to make his underwear out of potato sacks. They literally couldn't afford underwear. But they didn't act like that, okay? He came to this country. They did not like Italians. They did not even want him to marry my grandmother because they looked down at Italians like a lesser race. Never did I hear about it. Never did they instill the victim mindset. Never did they tell me not to work hard and to play the victim. Literally the opposite. It was like, work hard, clean up, you know. My mom taught me to like make the bed when I left someone's house. You know, she was a good woman. She still is. You know, it's how you raise your kids. It's also how, you know, the culture raises them. That's why we have to shift the culture. And that's why even in education and stuff like that, that's the real shift. People in education need to step up. People in the media need to step up. People at institutions need to step up, because these are the things that are filling the minds of kids. Even if you're a good parent, you send your kid off for 4 years to an indoctrination camp and they come back a totally different person, you know? I'm not anti-college. It was nice to get away from myself, but like at a certain point, you know, in the age when your kid is like probably the closest to an adult, but not quite fully grown, you know, 18 to like 23, that's when you're really working. You send them off to liberal professors. It's not good. I don't know. I don't know if I'd do it. Someone said, is there a goal to erase history and start over in a reverse? Communists in general, they like to destroy history. It's happened in Venezuela. I'm going to do a whole video on it later, but they definitely want to destroy history, but they've already manipulated history. I'm just going to go out there on a limb and say it. What you learn is probably not what happened. History is written by the winners. There's many people who even say that the Civil War was fought over taxes and a whole different, you know, industrial thing than it was even over slavery. I'm not saying that. I can't confirm it. I wasn't alive then. I'm not a historian. But Ron Paul and many other intelligent scholars that I follow seem to think that the story of the Civil War has even been skewed. The story of the first 2 world wars absolutely have been skewed. I mean, there's no way they haven't. So, you know, this idea that the people in control and the people in power, they like to use history to their advantage. I'll give you an example. You know, in World War II, America joined forces with communists to defeat the Nazis and then took Nazis into the government. However, you hear very little about communism and how bad it was because we worked with the communists. The communists won World War II. It was Nazism versus communism, and communism won. You know, so it was pretty much a lose-lose, probably set up by the bankers to just profit off both sides. I don't know, I wasn't alive, but in general, they now have figured out who's who. So certain ideologies have been forever demonized. The Nazi symbol, I talked in another one, it's an old Buddhist and Hindu symbol of like powerful, positive symbol. They used it and now it's been defiled permanently. I did a whole stream on it before. The rainbow, it's in multiple religions and now it's been hijacked by other people. So in general, all of history is skewed, but it's used to create certain oppressors and certain victims, regardless of what the true story was, because if you have a certain stature, then people can't say stuff about you. So for instance, you could tell that Christians and white people are not in power in this country, although you'll hear from everybody, white supremacists, this and that. If Christians and white people were really in the highest levels of power, you wouldn't be able to say that. It wouldn't be allowed because they'd stop you from saying that. It would not be popular. It would not be allowed. That's how you know that they're not in control. It's other groups and ethnicities beating down on the people that they don't like. You know, and other people, you can't critique them. You can't tell the truth about them. You can't question. You can't talk about statistics. You can't talk about math. But they're allowed to make up a whole thing that isn't even real and blame you about it every single day, despite it doesn't, you know, fit with science or reality or math or statistics. There's no backing that they have for it, but they're allowed to do it because they figured out a way to use vocabulary, words, you know, culture, and history to frame it in a certain way to say you can't do this. They did it with Charlottesville. I'll give you an example. In general, the whole thing was sketchy. It was Unite the Right was, you know, orchestrated by somebody who was like an ex-Obama guy. So it's like, was it even real to begin with or whatever. They got a bunch of the most fringe far-right people together in Charlottesville to go do a protest and stand there or something. I don't even know, to be honest, what exactly they were doing, holding tiki torches. Vice News was there. Interestingly enough, if you search neo-Nazi Ukraine, you could find the same thing happened in Ukraine, led to a somewhat regime change, and they were all holding tiki torches as well. To me, it looks like a photo op. To others, it looks organic. I'm just saying it's suspicious either way. However, they did that in Charlottesville. They didn't just leave these people alone, let them do their thing, and then leave. They surrounded them. They had all these sort of protesters, agitators, did the same thing they're doing now. Something happened, pulled out a car, hit somebody. Now it becomes something that they use for 2 years. Why am I saying this? I don't agree with the Unite the Right rally. Don't know what they were doing. Don't know who that was there. In no way, shape, or form do I justify anything they were doing, violent or non-violent. Don't care for any of them. That's why I wasn't there. However, they used that for political gain for 2 years. They're still using it. So what about the reverse side? You had one far-right protest that has virtually nothing to do with anybody on the right wing, and now you have them destroying statues, looting cities, killing each other, burning down stuff, vandalizing churches. They've done hundreds of times more damage than the Charlottesville rally did, physically, vandal-wise, even murder-wise. If you look what's going on in Chaz, combine it with how many people have died from the protests or the riots and such, they don't talk about it. This is how they operate, though. They cherry pick certain parts of history and say, this is all we're going to talk about, Charlottesville, and what we're doing doesn't exist. It's the same thing from World War II. Guys, we worked with the communists. We don't hear about the communists because we worked with them. We were them. They won. That's why you're seeing communism now, because they won the war. So, was Nazism bad? Absolutely. Was communism bad? Absolutely. Do you hear about communism? No. Do you hear about the Nazis that you took into the U.S. government? No. It's all manipulation, vocabulary manipulation, history manipulation. If you can manipulate history, you can control the present, and that's what they do. They don't talk about the Arab slave trade. They don't talk about the Jewish slave trade. In fact, they ban books about it. They don't talk about the black slave trade, the fact that black people were selling and enslaving each other. They talk about the white slave trade or the European slave trade or the American slave trade, and that's the only slave trade they talk about. They don't talk about current slavery. They don't talk about the first slave. They don't talk about the history of slavery. They don't talk about it in the Bible. They don't talk about any of it. They talk about one part of it. Why do they talk about that one part of it and not all the other parts about it? Because that's their agenda. Those are the people that they're seeking to destroy. Why are they seeking to destroy them? That's a whole nother topic you could dive into yourself, but there's a reason for all of this stuff. It's not random. And with the history stuff, 1,000%. They're doing it right now as well. If they write the history books, Trump is a neo-Nazi fascist, horrible Hitler, and anybody who supported him is a Nazi. That's what happens if they write the history books. So you can ask yourself, if that's what they're going to do now, what did they do in the 1700s, in the 1600s, in the 1500s, and the 1800s, and the 1900s? Who wrote the history books? What really happened? Why does it come out this way? Why do they have no nuance? It's like, you bad, we perfect, we didn't do anything, you did everything, we need to destroy you, we can't take accountability for it. It's all a lie. It's all a trap. Every group should take accountability. Every group should self-reflect. And every group should absolutely, there's two options. One, treat people like individuals. I don't care your ethnicity, your skin color, your religion. I treat you by the content of your character and who you are as a person. That's what I do. However, if you're going to, like many people do, they identify as their group. They identify as their sexuality. I'm gay. That's who I am. I'm black. I'm this. I'm that. I'm Jewish. I'm this. I'm Muslim. Whatever. If you identify as your group and you use it as a shield to not be able to be criticized and not be able to take any blame for anything, then you need to take some responsibility for your own group. If you're not tribal and you're just a person, you're not responsible for what everybody does of your skin color or your religion. But if you're one of those people who uses it for everything, for handouts, for goodies, for, scholarships, and then you don't want to take any blame, you call it all racist or anti-Semitic, that's when it becomes a problem. And that's what they do. And that's why you're seeing Christians and Americans and conservatives being just destroyed by the culture war, because they don't understand how they operate. And that's why conservatives aren't going to save you. Most Republicans are not only not fighting what I'm telling you about, they're a part of it, guys. They're passing speech laws. I told people last year, no one wanted to hear it. No, Anomaly, Charlie Kirk, and Ben Shapiro are my heroes. They're the best. Guys, they're all in on it. The Republicans are passing speech laws, making it borderline, not acceptable to criticize people because of their skin color, their religion. However, then they're like just standing there as the statues are being toppled and acting angry. They're not fighting the cultural, backlash at all. They're part of it. They're putting laws to make it borderline illegal for you to say something about powerful people, and they're putting it under the guise of race and religion. I'm trying to go the other way. I don't care who you are or what gender you are, but I don't believe in speech laws. And if there's speech laws for some, there's got to be speech laws for all, but there should be speech laws for none. If there's only speech laws for certain people and certain groups, and they could just openly blame you for things you're not doing, you're going to lose. You're going to get destroyed. You're going to get your statues defiled. You're eventually going to get persecuted. That's going to happen unless people wake up to what's going on. And I promise you, the right wing is not only not going to save you, they're actively part of the problem, and then they act as a gatekeeper pretending to fight it as they're actually doing it and destroying any other right-winger who gets close to what they're actually doing. I told you this last year, not out of mean or fear, to tell you this is inevitable. The shutdown, the looting, the rioting, it's not going to stop until enough people realize how they're operating. So God bless you guys. I'll stay and answer a few more questions, but it's an uncomfortable convo that people need to have. Walter said, I wish we could put our differences aside. Oh, we can, and we will. It'll get better. We'll have the tough conversations. We'll get people. Someone said, whatever happened to sticks and stones? Yeah, it's a trap. All these words are traps, guys. In general, there's different, we'll just start with stereotypes. I'll just be honest. With stereotypes, some stereotypes are completely false and completely wrong. Some stereotypes are not true for everybody, but they became a stereotype either out of a lie or out of something that seems to be a pattern in the community. So that's where they come from. However, in general, not allowing conversation about ethnicity is not to help ethnicities. It's to push an agenda of not being able to criticize people who are doing actual things. That's why it's there. So for all individuals, it doesn't matter. And in general, what are they talking about? Every ethnicity, every religion is not the same. So if you're Christian and you disagree with a Muslim, or you're Muslim and you don't agree with a Jew, it doesn't mean you necessarily hate them. It just means you have different thought processes, and maybe that's what they're really doing or how they really feel. Maybe it's not, but the only way to figure it out is to talk about it. The word racist, sexist, xenophobic, Islamophobic, anti-Semitic, it's used to stop discussion completely. Oh, you can't say that about the media, that's anti-Semitic. You can't say that about Islam, that's Islamophobic. Yeah, but maybe it's false, and you could say it's false and explain why. Maybe it's true, or maybe it's a pattern. It doesn't happen for everybody, but there's a reason it's there. So if you're only allowed to openly bash and criticize and blame one ethnicity, and every other ethnicity has a shield and a pass, there's no way it's going to get better until people realize that's the game. So those words are just made to create a silence. And there's differences in certain ethnicities. Diet-wise, sometimes there's different in even gender. It's like they want to pervert everything because they want to make you act like men and women. Women have babies. Men are physically stronger on average. That's just a fact. Different ethnicities and religions have different thought processes depending on their culture. If you're black and you're Irish, you don't operate the same in the sun. Your life is going to have to be slightly different. You're still a human. You deserve equal rights, and you could be friends. But to say an Irishman is the same as an African when it comes to sunlight intake, it's wrong. So these are the real life consequences of intersectionality, is they don't want you to know your differences. They don't want you to think that you're unique. They want to destroy your culture, to take it over. So, all these words, all these speech regulations are all just ways to silence discussion and provide protection for people who are doing things. They don't want you to not say it because it's not true. They don't want you to say it because it is true. If it wasn't true, it wouldn't bother them. If it wasn't true, they'd be able to debunk it quickly. But if you can't debunk it, you just say racist or anti-Semitic, and then everyone stops talking. They're like, oh yeah, why though? Tell me why. Why is that hateful? What if I say it? What if someone says it not out of the hate, out of the love? Is it still wrong? Is it still not allowed? No, they want to do what they're doing. They want to destroy the police, take them off television. They're just operating on insane levels. Someone said cussing. I want to hear you talk. I don't know what you're talking about with the cussing. Someone said, me or my kids will never look down on a different race. No, you never should. Absolutely. You should raise your kid to treat people like individuals and, have a good moral compass. That's how everyone should raise their kids. But what's up, Becky from Texas? Thank you, Heidi. What's the story of Biden hiding? Biden is... Tucker said it great. I watched this little segment the other night. He's not himself. Biden is just a shield. He's just a Trojan horse. So he doesn't talk to the press because he can't talk. He's not a good talker. He's losing his mind. He just mumbles. Biden is the mainstream media. Biden is the radicals. He's nothing. They're hiding him. Their whole agenda is the media. Hate Trump, Black Lives Matter, Joe Biden. He's might as well just be like Weekend at Bernie's, like a puppet. One of those things that you see in front of the car shops with their arms flailing. He's not even it's just like, he's just there. They can't have him do press conferences. He's hiding because the more he talks, the worse he does. The more he disappears, the better they do, because he's just like a hologram. Not literally a hologram, but it's like, their campaign is everything but him. He's just like the figurehead. Mendy said, all my rights have been taken away. I'm afraid to leave my house. Well, don't be afraid, but I hear you with the rights thing. Someone said, do you believe Hillary's trial in September will cause mass chaos? I just told you what I thought in general. I think the people, no offense, but when it comes to the Hillary stuff, there's two options. Either Trump and Barr and his Justice Department, either they're going to do something about it or they're not going to do something about it. You get what I'm saying? That's the only two options. If you're building it up like Trump's going to save the world, you might be disappointed. He might do something, he might not. But in general, the chaos is not going to stop. It has nothing to do with Hillary at this point. They're not stopping. It's in the minds, it's in the schools, it's in the companies. It's past. Hillary could disappear tomorrow. This is not going away. George Soros could disappear tomorrow. This is not going away. The damage is done. And I'm not providing cover for Hillary and George Soros. I can't stand either of them. However, people like to simplify things because it makes them feel better. George Soros is orchestrating all these protests. No, for decades, George Soros has manipulated a lot of stuff. He could disappear tomorrow. All this stuff is going to stay because it's in the minds of people, guys. He's not out there literally paying every single protester. It's been a mindset shift. So now people think they're operating on their own free will, but they're really just doing the bidding of what other people want them to do. So, it's the same philosophy of when Trump wins, everything's going to get better. When Hillary goes under, Hillary, George Soros could disappear tomorrow. Trump could win the whole election with Republicans. This isn't going to change. It's in the culture. It's in the entertainment. It's in every company. It's in mass media. The entire country, from banking to media to academia to entertainment to sports, it's all hijacked. It's all controlled. They're all against you. There's not a single event that's going to change that. And it's not a bad thing once you realize no one's going to save you. You have to save yourself. During COVID-19, I had all these Trump accounts getting mad at me because they thought that the COVID was a secret cover to arrest all the pedophiles. Listen, I don't doubt that there's people involved in that stuff. It's obvious at this point. However, it doesn't mean everything that happens is Trump's little secret plan to get them. And people couldn't handle that. They said, Anomaly, you're an agent, you're a narc. This is what Trump's doing. I'm like, guys, no, the economy is being imploded. This is a bad thing. This is not a good thing. No, it's a good thing because they don't want to believe that Trump's not doing every single thing. He didn't do the COVID shutdown. It's not his fault, but it wasn't good. Everyone knows that now. You get what I'm saying? They think that just Trump is like a magician who's going to save their world. And I'm not trying to be mean, but that's literally the theory. When I say this stuff, they're like, no, Trump's a time traveler. Even if he was a time, you get what I'm saying? It's next level. You don't want to save yourself. You don't want to save your community. You don't want to stand up for yourself. You want Trump to be a superhero time traveler wizard who's going to arrest 20,000 people and save the entire country single-handedly. It's not going to happen. He might arrest 10 people. He might hold people accountable. George Soros might disappear, but that's not going to fix the country. It's systemic. It's in the minds of these people already. The damage has been done for decades from multiple billionaires, from multiple countries, from multiple institutions, from multiple wicked people. It's here. But people don't want to face that. It's like liberals when they think Mueller's going to arrest Trump. Like, Mueller's not going to arrest Trump. It didn't happen. It's not going to happen. You know, and I like the president, and I like people who are interested in this stuff, but it has to come from you. It has to come from us. It's like, I don't know. It's like if I just sat in my house all day and thought somebody else was going to like wipe my butt and like, you know, give me $1 million. No one's going to give me $1 million. If I get $1 million, I'm going to have to earn it. And if I get $1 million, the government's going to take 400,000 of it or 300,000 of it. So, you know, there is no like secret way to save, like you got to do it. But if you use this to then become part of the change, that's awesome. And many people have. They've made documentaries, YouTube videos. They've really become part of the change, and that's great. If it inspires you to do that, that's fantastic. If it inspires you to just sit and back and think like Ted Cruz is going to save your life, guys, these people are, even Ted Cruz, he seems like a nice guy, but you know, at a certain point, he's 75% helping you, 25% adding to the problem. Someone said, I feel safer with Trump as president. No question, it's a better option. Without question, Trump's a better option. Without question, Republicans are a better option. Zero question in my mind. I'm going all red down the board, all Republican. A Democrat's not getting my vote, but that doesn't mean it's going to end there, you know? It's like a temporary hold on something that's unavoidable, but that's all I'm saying. I'm not out here telling people not to vote or to vote. Me personally, I'm going all red, but I know that that's not going to change anything. You know, it's going to temporarily do something. But why did the Democrats keep going further left? Because they pushed them further left. Why did the right wing keep going further left? Because people don't care. The left wing pushes the right wing further left, and the Charlie Kirks just fold and cave to whatever, you know, they say. And then Trump promotes Charlie Kirk. I'm not knocking him, but I've seen the way these people operate. They don't stand up for free speech. They don't stand up against mass immigration. They smear and censor anybody who does. They're the first ones to make excuses for an executive order or a bill that takes more speech away. And their logic is, well, they took our speech away, so we're going to take their speech away. That's not how free speech works. That's why nothing gets done in this country. It's like, we got to go the other way. Well, they lied, so we're going to lie. No, that just means more lies. It doesn't matter if Lindsey Graham sells out America or Ted Cruz or Nancy Pelosi sells out America. I've known Lindsey Graham was a snake for years now. And just because he complimented Trump and Kavanaugh, people thought Lindsey Graham was like this really fighter for them. No, he's been that type of guy. Same with John Bolton. Everybody's acting surprised by John Bolton. The Trump administration, Ronna McDaniel, no offense, but oh my goodness, I can't believe. Guys, how did you not know John Bolton was that type of person? Everyone knew. Every progressive knew that. I'll give them credit. Every America First right-winger knew that. Every on-the-fence, like, anti-regime change foreign policy person knew that. It was obvious. I mean, it's like, how did they not know that? I don't know. It's like, it just seems like WWE to me. But whatever. All right, we'll hang out for a few more. Someone said, I think Trump needs to hear what you're saying. That's another thing I want to explain, because I got a lot of heat from a lot of, you know, I'm not gonna bash entire movements, but a lot of people on the Trump conspiracy side, and I'm not calling it a conspiracy like it's fake. A lot of the stuff's real, but anyway, they're like, Anomaly, don't say this, you're an agent. I've had big accounts who push the QAnon stuff start bashing me because I was telling the truth about the COVID shutdown before they were. And they're saying I'm an agent, this and that, because I'm saying this stuff. The point I'm trying to get to is Trump listens. When Tucker Carlson bashes Republican, Trump responds. When I say this stuff, Trump's not a bad guy. He gets it. So he doesn't need a bunch. It's not virtuous to be like in a video game where you think Trump's going to arrest 20,000 people and you don't have to do anything as your churches are getting destroyed. And that's not good. That's like embarrassing. You know, that's selfish. You're like, Trump's going to save everything for me. He doesn't like that. You're just riding his coattails playing a video game where you think he's like your superhero daddy. Like, they think that I'm a bad person for saying this stuff. It's like, no, This is how things change. The left wing wins because they do stuff. The right wing just says, oh, Trump's going to solve it for me. He's a superhero. It's like, no, he listens to Tucker Carlson when Tucker Carlson calls him out. Tucker Carlson's not anti-America or anti-Trump or trying to protect Democrats. He's trying to protect America by telling the truth. You don't get anything for acting like the shutdown is a secret plot to arrest the Vatican. You think I'm joking? These people put out to millions of people, Trump's closing down Italy to arrest the Vatican. Guys, I'm not a fan of the Vatican, but that didn't happen. America didn't get shut down because Trump shut it down, but this is the video game. They're like, and you're a bad person, Anomaly, if you talk. Then they copy what I said 3 months later, and they're like, oh, COVID's bad, Fauci's bad. It's like, yeah, after you bash me about it, because I'm early on it, then all of a sudden, you say it 3 months later when you realize that every single thing that happens is not a secret Trump plan. Like, Trump could literally just, knock a church down, and they would say it's a hologram. It's just like, at a certain point, you got to grow up. You can believe in the stuff. You could hope Trump's going to hold people accountable. The Durham report is real. Indictments are real things. But, this idea, the culture is set in stone, guys. These people are not going to shift. It's just like watching Tom Cruise movies and thinking you're Tom Cruise. You eventually you're going to have to turn the TV off and go out into the world and save your own country and save your own community and save yourself, or leave where you're at. It's going to happen. Someone said Republicans need to stop bowing. 1,000%. But this is a problem on the right. On the left, when they bash Democrats, they all love it. On the right, you get backlash. If you try to hold Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro accountable, they call you a racist, homophobic, anti-Semite. Not the left. Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro. They're two of the biggest con artists in the entire movement. They gatekeep and tell you they're helping. They sell out free speech. They lie about immigration. And then they blacklist anybody who tries to hold them accountable. They're the worst. And then you get to the other side of it. You got all these QAnon people. God bless their souls. Not all of them, but a lot. They don't want you to criticize the president or the Republicans. They think you're like a secret agent if you do that because they're living in a video game. It's like, no, that's how you get results. Trump is not going to save the country, guys. You have to save yourself. Republicans have to go to Republicans and say, no, stop doing this. They're selling it out. They're shutting down. And then you get attacked from both sides on the right if you actually call them out. That's why Tucker's amazing. He's not a secret agent. He just isn't a coward. He doesn't cave. So you get too much backlash on the right. If you challenge the right, they call you every name under the sun on multiple levels. And they do it to each other too. It's like they'll call you a conspiracy theorist if you get too close to home. They'll call you a racist. It's like not the left, the right. It's happening. So it says, so how do you get out and vote? Save the country besides voting? What do you do? I think it has to come culturally. I think people need to shift the culture, but I'll say in right-wing circles, I've said this for 2 years and people hated hearing it. Like 90% of my audience would tune out because they wanted to hear we're winning, the economy's good, Trump's going to breeze through the election. They don't want to hear that their favorite people are selling out a free speech in executive orders. I could point to the legislation. Some of the best Republicans who I like are selling out free speech. You can't save the First Amendment when the left is going after the First Amendment and the right wing tells you they're making millions of dollars telling you they're saving the First Amendment as they themselves are selling out the First Amendment. You got to call these people out. You got to hold them accountable. Now everyone's doing it, but it's a little late. It's not too late, but it's like now you have to call them out because there's no other option. But you can't follow liars and false idols. And, enough Republicans have to say enough is enough. But this is what I really want to get through, and I've said it so many times. If you have a false leader, for example, left versus right. You have the left wing, forget about them for now. You have the right wing. You have all these leaders on the right wing, these analysts and these people going to college campuses. They're fighting for your free speech, right? They're fighting the left. They're not really fighting the left. I'm not going to call them controlled opposition, but they're certainly not America First conservatives. So if your leaders that you're rallying behind and giving money to and going to the events, if they're secretly selling you out, that's why you lose. You have to identify who's a liar and find better leaders. Tucker Carlson has been the best person on television. There's no question when it comes on the right wing. But those gatekeepers in the right-wing culture war, they name their events culture war. Trump promotes them. Trump supports them. You can look at their resume and what they're really doing. They're not pro-free speech. They're blacklisting anybody who gets too close to the truth. That's called a gatekeeper. So if the Republican Party's here and the gatekeepers are here and you think they're helping you but they're not, and anybody that's smart and accurate and funny and has a good personality will explain to them, hey, respectfully, this is what you're not saying. They try to destroy you. They try to censor you. They blacklist you. Guys, these are vicious people on a systemic level. They have made it their goal to make sure no one knows who the right-wingers are who actually call out their nonsense. They make sure that you're not allowed into their events. They do concerted efforts with all the right-wing media to put together these PR packages and just blast people. Look what they did to Michelle Malkin. Michelle Malkin's been fighting for conservatives for 3 decades now. She's been on Fox News since the 90s and the early 2000s. She's not racist. She's not anti-Semitic. She's married to a Jew. She's Asian, I think. I don't know. She's brown. She's darker skinned. Anyway, she's just like unapologetically America first. She calls out lobbyists. She calls out donor-backed liars. She calls out the nonsense. She calls out mass immigration. And they put out a concerted effort to call her a Holocaust denier. Not the left wing, guys, the right wing. And I tried to explain this a year ago. This is why the right wing loses. You have liars and gatekeepers at high levels knocking anybody down who gets too close to the truth. She's been kicked out of organizations. She's been smeared by every right-wing news outlet on the planet. Why? For not being a liar, for being unapologetically pro-free speech, pro-America, and anti-cancel culture. This is who the right wing is, guys. They're not going to help you. I'm still going to vote I'm not voting for the Democrats, but if you just think Trump's going to save you and Charlie Kirk's going to save you, they're leading you to the same place. And I said that last year. I said it last year. They're both leading you to communism. No one wanted, no, they're fighting. No, they're not. If you study the ideology of what drives Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk, they're leading you to the same exact place. You just don't know it. And there's a reason this happened. There's a reason no Republicans are talking out about it. There's a reason that there's very few conservatives defending the statues. Who's doing it? Tucker Carlson, a few others. Who's not? 80% of them. I'm not somebody who bashes people for clout. I don't need attention. I don't need money. I don't need power. I have no ego. I'm just telling you the truth. The only reason I tell you this is because things aren't going to change if you think these people are saving you. Someone said, I like Ben. You should. He's a nice guy, but I'm telling you, he's not pro-free speech. If you get too close to home, he's going to call you an anti-Semite. He thinks it's anti-Semitic to suggest that people have dual loyalty. It's like there's Italian dual loyalists, there's Mexican dual loyalists, there's people who like their home country better than they like America. But Ben Shapiro's a gatekeeper. If you get too close to home, he'll smear you. He smeared Ron Paul, Donald Trump, Mike Cernovich, Alex Jones, Breitbart News, Milo Yiannopoulos, Ann Coulter. Dude, these people, I'm not telling you to not like them, but if you think they're not gatekeepers, you'll find out. They're leading you towards communism. I hate to say it, but I like a lot of stuff Ben does too, but once you realize that they not only don't fight for free speech, but they're part of cancel culture, they're part of adding more speech laws, they're part of using these words that shut down speech, and they demonize and blacklist and lie about anybody who tells the truth about it, you realize they're not going to help you. They're not going to save you. They're not going to save the First Amendment. They're just going to whittle you down slowly, like the Republican Party, whittle you down, tell you they're fighting for you, and then when push comes to shove, do the exact opposite. When Trump tries to stop a war in Syria, who's his biggest opponent? Lindsey Graham and Ben Shapiro. They hate when Trump stops war. Why? Because that's who they are. That's what they want. They want certain things going on in the Middle East for their own benefit. Lindsey Graham and Ben Shapiro, they're part of the same neocon ilk. So they'll tell you the truth about transgenderism or something once in a while, but it's like if you don't understand the ideology that drives them, you're going to, oh my goodness, I can't believe John Bolton, I can't believe he turned on Trump. Guys, that's who John Bolton was the entire time. There wasn't a day that I thought that wouldn't happen. Same with Lindsey Graham. People think, man, he was good in the Kavanaugh. Lindsey Graham is a neocon war hawk. He just wants to start a war. He's going to turn on Trump just like Bolton did. Mark said, why are you voting Republican then? That's a good question. Because in the two-party system, the Democratic Party is just, in my personal perspective, wicked to the core, and they're just spiraling towards, the worst aspects of everything. And the Republican Party still maintains somewhat of a spine. It's not great. It's still slowly whittling away, but it's better. That's my personal opinion. I think it's more beneficial, and I think in general, what I'm saying is how you change the party. Tucker Carlson changes the party. Michelle Malkin changes the party. People who make excuses and don't realize what's going on, they don't change it. So I'm looking to vote red and then shift them back to where they need to be, which is actually being conservative and actually standing up for content of character, being a little bit more open. They do a better job. To me, it's like if I could give the Democratic Party a rating out of 1 or 10, I'd give them a 0. There's nothing they could do for me. If I could give the Republican Party a rating, I'd give them a 4, but a 4 is still better than a 0. Sorry about that, brother, in the UK. Someone said America has been exploited by left Marxists and neocons. Exactly. On the right, you could call them neocons. There's other names for them, but the neoconservative doesn't care about America. They care about everything but you. And on the left wing, you have the Marxist-minded people. So if both sides are co-opted, there's differences. I'd still rather a conservative personally, but it's gonna whittle down. It's not like I'm hating on people. I just want people to know, because that's how you solve it. I know when Tucker did his piece on Iran, people hated it. Like, my page was flipping out at Tucker Carlson. They were like, how dare Tucker, this was like months ago, how dare Tucker Carlson go against Trump? How dare him say that? But they're like shocked by what he's saying because they've never heard what Tucker Carlson's saying. What Tucker said about Iran was right. And Soleimani, he just questioned it and accurately did an analysis on it. But like 90% of my page was furious at Tucker Carlson for saying that. It's because they've never heard it. But what they don't realize is the reason they've never heard it is because there's a concerted effort to make sure that you never hear it. You get what I'm saying? So with me, I'm free at the moment to say whatever I want. Most people, if you're at a major corporation or you don't get the money from the certain areas, you don't get to those situations. So, people are shocked by hearing this stuff sometimes because they've never heard it. But the reason you've never heard it is because they make sure you never hear it. It's the same with on the left wing. These people have never heard of conservative ideology because all the social media companies are working together. All the, maybe not together, but in general, all the academia, most of these things are making sure that they never give you this side of the story. It's the same with Republicans. You go to that side of the story, but they only give you one aspect of that side of the story. They have gatekeepers who just repeat the same thing. And a lot of these gatekeepers are either one of two things. Neocons, neoconservatives, which are just war hawk, warmongering, people who will put America last in a second. They don't care about you, your worker, mass immigration, war in the Middle East, neocons, or the type of people who care about power and money more than they care about what's right. So a lot of these people, like, for instance, if you don't want to say the truth, you don't want to lose your job. There's a lot of people in entertainment, music, whatever, they don't want to say anything because they're afraid they're going to lose their job if they say the truth. It's the same thing with a lot of Republicans. A lot of Republicans get donor money and network money. Who owns the networks? Who are the donors? Get what I'm saying? Who has the money? Where does the money come from? What do the people with the money want you to do? What do they want you to say? What's their foreign policy? What's their domestic policy? Do they care about the corporations? Do they care about you? Do they care about bombing Syria or do they care about you? So it's the same dynamic. People think these false idols are like heroes of conservatism because they march around schools and say what people want them to hear, but they're just like you at your job. You don't want to say what you feel because you don't want to lose the money and you don't want to, lose your social status. It's the same with the Charlie Kirks and these type of people and the Shapiros. Either one, they have an ideology that you don't understand, or another, they don't want to lose the money or the power. if they say what I say, they don't get to be there. You know, you're not allowed to be there and say what I say unless you're a Tucker Carlson and you've worked hard, you've paved your way, and now you're just grandfathered in and everybody respects you. You know, Tucker probably has respect from everybody, the neocons and the left wing, because not everyone on the left, but you get what I'm saying? It's like they suffer the same thing. It's just like people think that doesn't happen for some reason. Like they're like, I don't want to lose my job because I'm allowed to do it, but these Republicans really care about me. It's like, no, they're doing the same thing you're doing. They're just censoring what they say and playing along, or else you can't go, you know? Unless you can, very few people can speak truth and not be, you know, have consequences for it. Someone said, what about Gates, Nunes, Jordan, those reps? Do you like them? Yeah, I like them. I like them. I like Nunes, Gates, and Jordan. Listen, I like Charlie and, well, actually, I don't really like Charlie, but, you know, Shapiro's okay sometimes. In general, I find them both kind of annoying. I'm not trying to be mean. They're not my cup of tea. But I like Nunes and Jordan and Matt Gaetz a lot better than those two. However, there's just a certain power structure in this country and in the Republican Party that really dominates. So, you know, even some of my favorite people either cave to it because they have to, or they just feel that way. I don't know. I can't get in their minds. But yeah, I like them, absolutely. I think they're better than the rest. But, you know, it is what it is. I don't really follow everything they say or do. So, you know, I don't like to be a big critic. I'm not here to, like, nitpick everything that Shapiro or Kirk or Jordan or Matt Gaetz do. It's not who I am. It's not what I'm about. I just want to let people know, if you have certain gatekeepers in certain positions and they tell you they're fighting for free speech, but they're really not. They tell you they're fighting for America first, but they're really not. And they actively try to shut down people who are doing what they claim to do. It becomes a problem. That's the point I'm trying to make. And you could do your own research for yourself, but there's definitely moments of that. And I saw it last year, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let me see. I feel like you're talking for both sides, like you don't want to offend anyone. I try to be respectful, but I'm not trying to not offend anybody. I'm just telling you the truth. Like, the truth, this is another problem. When I say this stuff, people say, you're a liberal, you're this. No, that's the mind frame. If you have two sides that don't care about you, like, no offense, let's go back to World War II. America won. Fantastic. We won the war. We worked with the communists who killed tens of millions of people, and then we destroyed the Nazis and took them into the U.S. government. So did we win? The communists won the war, and we took the Nazis into our government. Is that a win to you? Maybe, I guess. I mean, yeah, we won. America, you know, we didn't lose. That's great. But if I say that, am I anti-America? Am I anti-Russia? Or, you know, no, that's just what happened. So it's like, it's not red or blue or black or white all the time. Personally, I lean right, but it's like, at a certain point, it's like, oh, you're a libtard if you don't like Sean Hannity. It's like, have fun with 15 wars and just the decline of America then. I'm not blaming Sean Hannity. I'm just saying, like, it's not all black or white. It's, you know, someone said Ted Cruz. I mean, he has his moments, but they're all, I'll just be honest. My problem with a lot of the Republicans is they don't believe in free speech. I have no problem with anybody, and this gets misconstrued. I don't care if you're Muslim, Jewish, Christian, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. But all the Republicans pass anti-Semitic speech bills. Ted Cruz calls everybody an anti-Semite, and then he gets called an anti-Semite. They all pass speech regulations for Israel because the Republican Party is controlled by Zionists. Zionism is the main ideology in the Republican Party. It's not America first. It's Zionism, the American Israel allegiance to, you know, do whatever they want to do or whatever. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but it's like they can't have conversations without calling people anti-Semitic. It's just another way to censor speech. I have no problem with Israel. I have no problem with Jewish people, but I don't believe in speech laws. I don't believe in speech regulations. I believe those words are made to stop discussion. If I don't agree with Israel or someone Jewish, doesn't mean I hate Israel or every Jewish person. It just means I disagree. If I don't like the Democratic Party, do I hate all white people? If I don't like, you know, Black Lives Matter, do I hate all black people? If I don't like, you know, LeBron James, am I against all athletes? No, these words are lies. These words are just smear tactics to silence anybody. So that's my problem with the Republican Party. All these Zionists prioritize Israel over America. If they didn't, they wouldn't be passing speech laws for a foreign country. We don't even have speech laws for our own country. It's easier to pass bills for Israel than it is to pass bills for America because Zionism controls the Republican Party. I have no problem with Zionists who just leave me alone or who don't, sacrifice the First Amendment. But once they start doing that, they call you anti-Semitic. It's like, I believe in the First Amendment. It's not anti-Semitic. I do it against Muslims, Christians, Jews. I don't care. I just don't want speech laws. But they pass speech laws in the name of Israel, and then they call you an anti-Semite if you disagree. Ben Shapiro does it, Charlie Kirk does it, Ted Cruz does it, Donald Trump does it. None of them don't do it. And if you disagree, like Michelle Malkin, they call you a Holocaust denier. She's never denied the Holocaust. They're insane. They're just as bad as like left-wing smear merchants if you get too close to home. So that's my problem with the Republican Party is you're getting the results of what happened in World War II. We worked with communists, we defeated the Nazis, and then we took 1,600 Nazi scientists, party leaders, and rocket engineers into the federal government. So the communists won the war, we took the Nazis into our country, and now we have what we have in 2020. The banking system is a central bank. The mass media doesn't like this country. Most corporations are falling for far left propaganda and are just anti-America. And here we are. So that's, Tim said I have to disagree with you, dude. I could care less if you agree or disagree, but what do you disagree with, Someone said, do you not think President Trump puts America first? They're all Zionist first. I don't know what to tell you. I think they put America second. I think America is a close second, but I think Trump is Zionist first, America second, and Ted Cruz is Zionist first, America second. I don't mind it. It's better than America last. I think the Democratic Party is America last, and the Republican Party is like America second. So it's not bad to be second. Libertarian Party is not going to help you. No, I said Matt Gaetz, not Bill Gates. Yeah, no, Matt. James said, so you're blaming the Republicans? See, this is why you can't have, this is why people lose, because am I blaming the Republicans? No, I'm not blaming anybody. It's no one's fault. I'm not mad at it. I still have many Republican friends high level in the Republican Party. I just say how I feel. I just told you, I'm not blaming them. I'm just telling you the truth about them. Here. Adam said it's refreshing to hear someone speak exactly the truth. You'll never hear it because they don't allow people to hear it. Someone said, I don't know if Trump is Zionist first, though. Guys, just look at what he's doing. He definitely goes hard for America, but he passes executive orders on college campuses to stop people from questioning Israel. Guys, why else would he do that? Pompeo, all his people, Kushner, Ivanka, they're all Zionists first. You don't have to think he is because it's a tough pill to swallow, but he likes America. He loves America, trust me. But it's easier in this country to pass legislation for Israel than it is for America. It's just true. As you're losing your job, I'm not saying you particularly, they're passing Holocaust, $10 million Holocaust bills in schools. You can't even open your school. You can't open your church. For the record, you probably can't even open your synagogue. And they're passing Holocaust school bills. School's not even open. And they're still getting their agenda pushed, guys. It never ends. It doesn't stop. What school did Trump pass a school bill so American kids could go to school? No, he passed a bill, speech bills for Israel, Holocaust bills so kids learn what they want them to learn. Is there an Armenian genocide bill or a Holodomor bill or a bill that allows, statues to not get burned down? No, what does that tell you? America is not the priority. It can't be. He doesn't have enough power for it to be. He's trying, but it's easy to pass bills for Zionists because it just is. It's harder to pass bills for America because a lot of our institutions hate this country. I'm not getting into a religious conversation right now, guys. I could have a whole nother discussion with that on you. I'm just saying that's what's happening. You could look into it yourself. It's not necessarily a bad thing. But at the end of the day, if you want a country to be left in existence, you're going to have to figure it out eventually. If you don't want to, it's okay. I'll move to the hills and you'll figure it out eventually. People are talking about the Bible protecting Israel. Guys, you don't get it, and this is why you're going to lose. This is why your whole country is going to go to hell quickly. I'm not against Israel right now. I'm not blaming them. I'm not blaming Republicans. I'm telling you, the country you live in does not prioritize you. They prioritize another country first. So you're going to get the results of an entire political class that doesn't prioritize you. If you're the mayor of Los Angeles, you should prioritize Los Angeles. If the mayor of Los Angeles is doing more for San Francisco than he's doing for Los Angeles, that's a problem, guys. It's nothing. I'm not against San Francisco. I'm not against Los Angeles, but the mayor of Los Angeles should not be doing more for San Francisco. It's the same with America, but they've brainwashed Christians to be useful idiots. Like, the Bible says to support. Well, then you're going to get the result of an entire party that doesn't care about you or prioritize you. And that's what's happening. So it's not about that. Stand up. You're so weak. No offense, but it's like, this is why Christians lose. You guys are weak and brainwashed. It's like Muslims stand up for themselves. Jewish people stand up for themselves. Christians do exactly what white Americans do. Half of them are just brainwashed into destroying themselves. And they're like, it says to do this. It says to defile your statues. It says to not stand up for yourself. It said to establish a country where both political parties are either actively working against you or putting you on the back burner for an entirely different country. Good luck then. Have fun having your neighborhood and your city and your country just completely defiled and destroyed, because that's what you get for being such a pushover. It's like, it's not, the Bible doesn't say America should hire a bunch of politicians that care about another country first. It's not in the text. You can support another country without destroying your own country. You could support San Francisco while supporting America. You can do both. I'm just telling you the truth. It's easier to pass bills in this country for that country because that country has more power than your country, and the political party that's supposed to be prioritizing your country first is actually not prioritizing your country first. You're second or third, which is fine. It's not bad. You still get a silver or bronze medal, but if you don't want to admit that, or it offends you, or that's a really tough pill to swallow, you're gonna get the results of it. It's like last year when I explained where this country was going, people didn't want to hear it. No, the economy is good. You're going to figure it out eventually. It's like the left wing. What's the left wing doing with major cities? They're going to figure out what their ideology brings them. Their ideology brings them to hell. Their ideology brings them to a city that's dysfunctional, a country that's dysfunctional. If you don't figure out what's going on in the right wing and how they're not going to save you, it's gonna hit hard. It's going to hit home eventually. I don't know what to tell you. All right, I got like 5-10 more minutes, and then I'm out. Someone said America's supposed to answer to the Constitution. They're passing executive orders to undermine the Constitution. Not Democrats, guys. Democrats are doing so much damage to the Constitution, it's not even funny. Guys, Republicans are too. Who's the Supreme Court? We have a Republican majority. They're not doing Republican things because they're not They're not America First people, guys. You got to figure this out. I'm sorry. It's all good. It's all love. People misconstrue what I say. It's like if you say anything about Black or Hispanic or women without just saying, they're perfect, men are horrible, everyone else is bad, people say it's racist or sexist. It's not racist or sexist to have a nuanced conversation about women or Black and Hispanic culture in any sort of way. It's not racist. Just like when you talk about Israel, I'm not knocking Israel. I'm having a conversation with my Orthodox buddy later. It's going to be a hilarious live stream. However, if you can't figure out that the Republicans are Zionists first, you'll figure it out eventually. They're not America first. I'm sorry. It's not a mutual thing where it's like we're working together. It's easier to pass bills for them than it is for you. And you're going to get the result of that. You're going to get nothing. You're going to get, I don't know, a two-party system that's failing. Someone said the deep state is using both parties. 1,000,000%. Someone said, so how do we fix this? By not putting up with it. I don't want to sound like a broken record because people who've been following for a while already know this, but when 90% of the Republican Party is following false idols and liars and gatekeepers, you're going to get the result of 90% of your party supporting false idols, liars, and gatekeepers. So you get what you deserve, which is these people. When I say this stuff, if enough people realize it, then eventually you get leaders who reflect it, like a Tucker Carlson. But if you don't, you get those people. So I don't know what to tell you. If you don't want to hear what I'm saying and you say, oh, no, I don't agree, then that's fine. I don't care. I have faith in God. I have little faith, to be honest, in the Republican Party. I have little faith in the direction of where we're going for the next 10 years. I don't see a turn because people are going to get exactly what they ask for on every level. I think Christians have become totally co-opted and brainwashed, and most major megachurches are politically co-opted, and people can't handle the truth, and half of them are liberal and they're marching with Marxists, and then the other half that are Republicans are all Zionists and they don't want to hear a conversation about this, which is fine, but it's like you'll get those results. So how do we fix it? Same way as anything, just not believing liars, standing up for yourself, not following the wrong people. I don't know, but I can't do that. I'm not, Shelly, I could have a whole biblical context of this, but to be honest, you better grip onto the Bible, because that's gonna be the next thing that goes. They're coming for Jesus statues, they're coming for the Bible, and your text, you better keep onto it, because eventually they're gonna say that's anti-Semitic or racist or hateful or something, and they're gonna try to get rid of the Bible soon. So make sure you get a copy now, because if you can't figure it out, I don't know what to tell you. Someone said, we've made such a habit of excusing bad leadership, and that's not anyone's fault. It's not Israel's fault. It's not Trump's fault. It's not my fault. It's not your fault. It's not Muslims' fault. It's not Christians' fault. I think Christians' fate is Christians' fault. Take accountability, but it's our fault. I don't blame anybody. I'm not hateful. I love Israel. I love Israelis. God bless them. I think Israel should stand up for Israel. And I think Israel should do what's in the best interest of Israel. And I think Israeli politicians should focus on Israel first. And America politicians should focus on America first. And in America, I believe in the freedom of speech. So if the right wing sells out the freedom of speech, it's not anti-Semitic to believe in the Constitution. That's what they tell you because they're selling it out for their donors or for their political or geopolitical interests. And it's not right. And it's going to lead you towards that path. So in general, everybody makes excuses for bad leadership. This country is falling apart. Literally. I'm not even trying to be like a fearmonger. Walk around. This country is going to crap. Like even in nice areas, businesses are going to be closed. Places are boarded up. I mean, there's some nice places, and I think conservatives are going to age better, but like, at what point do people not get offended? People are offended. Anomaly, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you. I don't agree with the fact people sat around for 3 years and watched this country go to crap. So, it's like I'm offended that everyone else is offended. I'm offended that people are mad at words more than they're mad at bad leaders and terrible actions. But it's like you can't have a discussion. They want to make a culture where they can beat down on you for your skin color. They could beat down on you for your religion. They can beat down on you for your political ideology, regardless of who you are, regardless of your religion. They want to beat down on you and make it a hate crime or a hate speech to defend yourself. That's what they're doing on all fronts. That's why you can't follow Republicans who use these words. If you use the word racist all the time, you're not fighting the problem. If you use the word anti-Semitic all the time, you're not fighting the problem. If you pass speech laws, you're not fighting the problem. This is both parties. So you're disillusioned by leaders who tell you they're fighting, but they're really just, oh, let's tear down Yale. Let's tear down these statues. Albert Pike statues, let's tear them down. Let's not tear down any statues. We need to go back to following the law and not having speech regulations. It's all a trap, guys. It's not for the average person. It's so you can't defend yourselves as they attack you over the next 10 years. Physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, they're coming. They're already coming. It's already happening. It's not like a theory. It's like people in my peer group are just getting deleted from Venmo, PayPal. If you say too much, they try to destroy you financially. It's already happening. So it's like the COVID shutdown, the riots. What part do you not get? If you don't figure it out, it's not going to stop. It stops when enough people figure it out. When you have the entire left wing disillusioned, you have half the right wing co-opted and brainwashed by false leaders and gatekeepers, you're going to get the results of what happens when 90% of the population is following false idols. You get what you deserve. Don't blame anybody. Don't be hateful. Don't blame a certain religion or a certain country or a certain group. Blame yourself. Don't blame Muslims. Don't blame the left wing. Blame yourself, because you're getting exactly what you deserve. You got to figure it out. I don't know. Someone said they come out of office millionaires. Yeah, they're all sold out. Someone said follow the law, not twist the law for your personal gain. That's what they're doing, though. They don't follow the law, and then they all twist the law for their gain, and then Republicans respond, and then they twist the law. Do you think people on the left will see this one day? You're going to have to see it. I'm just saying right now, in these cities, there's no way it's going to get better before it gets worse. There's no possible way. I've lived in Los Angeles for 8 years. I'm gone. I'm not going back probably ever. If I have to go for an interview or something, maybe. But I watched that city decline for 7 years before COVID. Trash, tents, businesses leaving. The whole model from top to bottom, socially, politically, financially, tax-wise, it's all backwards. So the city was declining. Now the COVID shutdown, now the riots, it looks like a war zone. Everything's graffitied, and good people are leaving, and smart people are leaving. And, the degenerates are getting more emboldened, and the crackheads are growing in numbers because of the opioid crisis and the fact that they just allow them to do it and subsidize it. There's no way liberal cities are getting better. So my thought is, yeah, they're going to figure it out, because the world's going to come crashing down on them, and either they're going to figure it out or they're not going to figure it out, and they're going to have to deal with their consequences. And it's the same thing with the right wing. I love Israelis. I love Jewish people who are good people. And I don't like wicked Jewish people, I don't like wicked Christians and wicked Muslims or wicked atheists. I like good people of all race, religions, and genders, and all of them exist. However, in America, if you don't figure out what's going on, right-wingers are going to have to figure it. They're going to learn eventually, because it's going to happen. It's like, it just reminds me of last year. I'm sounding the alarm on all this stuff, and all these right-wingers are getting mad at me. They're all like, oh, you're a leftist. I knew you were a liberal. You liked Bernie. You're going to figure it out. If you think you're going to the promised land and you're really not, it's going to happen. So the left-wing cities are going to go to hell quickly. The right-wing cities are going to go to hell slowly. And eventually, right-wingers are going to have to take a stand. They're going to have to say enough is enough. And some already are. In certain areas of Texas and Tennessee, they've already done that, Utah, I'm sure, other places. Even in California, there's conservative places that don't allow no nonsense. So eventually, it's going to happen to left and the right wing. You just have to eventually take a stand and call it out. And that's the beautiful thing in politics. These type of politicians, they sway like the wind. These gatekeepers on the right wing, they sway like the wind. They're like a spoiled kid. They do what they're allowed to do. If you call them out, they stop doing it. When Tucker Carlson called out the Republican Party and went viciously hard at them, Trump responded on Twitter and added him, saying, I'm working on it. Trump listens. He wants you to call him out. He doesn't want liars. He doesn't like CNN liars. He likes Tucker Carlson, because Tucker Carlson calls out the Republican Party. And either Trump is a good guy and he gets it, or he's not a good guy. I think he's a good guy. I'm not knocking him when I say he's a Zionist first. It's just true. I don't think he has any other option. I think there's so much power there that it's not even his choice. But I think he's also really big on it, and that's where the money is. That's where the power is. That's where, that's where our politicians have been, and that's where our allegiance is. I understand having allies. I just don't understand a country that undermines its own constitution for its allies. That's what I don't understand. I wouldn't expect Israel to pass a law that says it's illegal to criticize Christians, or it's illegal to talk bad about America, or to question them, I wouldn't want Israel to do that. I would yell at Israel's leaders and be like, you guys hate your own people. You know, you're anti-Israel. Israel should never, ever, ever pass speech laws for America, and they never will. America should do the same. It's not anti-Semitic to say that. It's pro-America. It's pro-reality. It's like there is no speech laws for my race. There are no speech laws for my religion. And there shouldn't be. So why should there be for anyone else? I could take the blame. I could take the heat. I could take a tough conversation about slavery. You can't take a conversation about media and banking. Is it because it's fake and you're mad at it? Or is it because it's true and you don't want to talk about it? I think it's the second one, you know? And it's not everybody. I'm just saying at the high levels, they're not doing it for you. Like, it's like the Black Lives Matter protests. They're not doing it for your community. They don't care about black communities. They're using black activism to establish a bigger goal. And it's the same with on the high levels. I highly doubt, do I think that they care about the Hasidic communities in New York? Not even remotely. Look at what Bill de Blasio is doing to them. He's like locking them out of, like their synagogues and schools and stuff. These are wicked people on the left. So they don't care about Jews. They just use them politically sometimes to achieve certain goals for the higher level ones. They don't care about the kids in Brooklyn, you know? So it's not racist to call out Black Lives Matter, and it's not anti-Semitic to call out speech laws. It's just the left wing has been brainwashed in order to think that any conversation against their Marxism is racist. And on the right wing has been brainwashed to think any conversation for free speech is anti-Semitic. It's the two-party brainwashing going on. They're like, well, the Bible says Israel. I'll have a biblical conversation another time about what I think about that. However, we're not talking about that. I didn't say to curse Israel, and I didn't say to defile it. I said, just don't sell out your Constitution. And you interpreted it as, you hate this whole place? I've never once said a negative thing about Israel. I've never once just bashed or emotionally went at an entire religion. It's never happened. I've only complimented them. I've actually said they do a better job for their people than America does here. So it's not, you just interpret it that way because they've brainwashed you to think that, and they've done it to pass laws against you. It's the same thing that's going on the left. I say it because it's important. I can't wait till later. If anything's going to get censored, it's going to be my video later. I'm having a conversation with my Muslim buddy and my Orthodox Jewish buddy. We're doing a Christian, a Muslim, and a Jew, and we're going to have these tough conversations. I'm going to talk about Islam. We're going to talk about Judaism. We're going to talk about Christianity. It's going to be fantastic. I'm actually really excited about it. It's going to be fun. These are all very smart people, very honest people, so we're going to do it. I always said I wanted to get an imam and a rabbi and a priest together, but now I'm just going to do it myself with my friends. Mikey, I read your comment. That's funny. Someone said, I wish Trump would pay more attention to what you have to say. I think he does. I mean, not me specifically, but like, you have to understand it's all culture. If Republicans want it, you get it. If liberals want it, you get it. That's why people have to, you can't fight what I'm saying. I mean, you can, but you get what you deserve. Like right now, what I'm saying is not a hot button issue. And honestly, I understand why. People have bigger priorities. But if no one cares about it, they won't do it. If enough people care, they'll do it. In general, Trump's campaign manager follows me. He sees what I say. It's just not a popular statement right now, so they don't really care, you know? When is your sit down? I'm going to record it on Skype. And then I'm going to record it on Skype, and then I'm going to put it out probably tomorrow. I'll probably air it on Facebook. I'm not nervous, but like, it's going to be a really raw conversation. I don't know if Facebook will be bothered by it. I hope not. I mean, what's more peaceful than a Muslim, a Christian, and a Jew? It's a dream, right? That's the utopian dream. But these are all right-leaning conservative Muslim, right-leaning conservative Jew, and a right-leaning conservative Christian, so the conversation might get a little dicey. So I don't know if I'll put it up or not. I'll probably put it on Facebook, but it's going to be unfiltered. I feel like they might have a problem with it. I'm going to read this. Christina said, I am Jewish and pro-Israel. I have a great knowledge of the Bible and global politics. This guy's spot on. I love him. Thank you, Christina. I appreciate it. It's not even like people get it. A lot of Christians get more bothered by it than Jewish people. But you can't please everybody. It's like sometimes people of all ethnicities get upset. But I really appreciate that. And, you know, it's funny because it's really just like a personal thing. Like I have Jewish friends that just have like a raw sense of humor. You know, like they'll say some stuff that like even I wouldn't say. But it's funny because like once you just let your guard down and you realize who cares about you and who doesn't, you know who's who. You know, like words are not really going to hurt you. But it's actually, I've had a big conversation with my Orthodox buddy too. It actually backfires as well for the Jewish community in America because anti-Semitism rises. You can't stop hate for Jewish people, like true hate for Jewish people. You can't just rip it out of somebody via speech law. It just doesn't work that way. Like you can't stop people from hating black or white people with a speech law. You have to do it systemically. So a lot of these organizations like the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, and a lot of this right-wing stuff, a lot of it's actually burdening. They think that, sorry, my connection went out. They think that the law is going to stop people from hating them, but the people in Brooklyn that don't like Jewish people and the left-wingers who are very anti-Israel, a law's not going to make them just be like, wow, I really love Israel now. It just doesn't work that way. It's going to have to come with like good arguments, showing facts, and really being somebody that like shows humility, I think. You know, like when Roseanne won over a lot of America, she didn't do it by playing the victim. She did it by being a relatable woman that people liked, you know? And same with like Rob Schneider. He's Jewish, but not a lot of people know it. I guess his last name is pretty Jewish. But he doesn't like play the victim, you know, that often or ever. He just says real stuff. He's conservative, but he also goes against conservatives. It's like trust is earned and respect is earned through good leaders and good people out there. So I think a lot of the right-wing and left-wing strategy to fight anti-Semitism, I actually think it's really, really harmful. And that's probably one of the main reasons I'm against it. Let me see. Oh, that's a good one. Someone said, please ask the Jewish and Muslim friends what they think about the peace plan that Trump put forward with Netanyahu. I'm going to write that down. Hold on. That's a good one. We're gonna ask some tough questions. It's gonna be fun because my buddy Nabil, he's Muslim from Dubai. He's a smart guy. He's a funny guy. And my buddy Andrew, I've already live streamed with him. He's a very honest guy as well. So it's gonna be fantastic. I'm excited. I'm just afraid they're gonna ban it though, because like we'll talk about the peace plan. We'll talk about the speech laws. We'll talk about Islam. I'm gonna talk about Sharia law. You know, we're gonna talk about it's going to get spicy. I can't wait. It's going to be fun though. But it's not like, they're not like crazy leftists. No offense to leftists, but like they're both kind of conservative. So like neither of them are snowflakes, you know, like it's not going to be like a screaming argument where like that's the word, like, yeah, racist. And they're like, oh my goodness. Like no one's going to use the word Islamophobic or anti-Semitic probably. I mean, maybe it'll come up, but it's going to be an actual legit conversation. I'm excited. I'll put it out tomorrow on Facebook. Someone said, I don't agree with you half the time, but I love your content. Hey, I'll take that. I appreciate it. I'm glad you listen and don't agree. It's a good time. Someone said no one wants to debate. Yeah, it's gonna be good. Please, New Yorkers, vote out AOC today. It's interesting. I gotta go in a minute. My phone's about to die. But with AOC, the real damage is really like the cultural damage. Like systemically, she doesn't really do anything. So even if she loses, she's still gonna like go on the news, and you know, like her reach is gonna still be like really widespread. So I think even if she loses, it's not gonna like stop her power. But I don't know. We'll see. Can we see it on Skype somehow? I could try to live stream it. Should I try to live stream it on Facebook? I could try to stream it live on Facebook tonight. I could also just record it and put it up tomorrow. I was thinking to just record it and then put it out tomorrow as a live stream and like premiere it in the morning or something. I don't know. I just want to make sure I record it because I don't know how to really live stream three-way. I know how to record it on Skype, so I'm thinking about just recording it. Yeah, it's going to be a good... Excuse me. Sorry, my voice getting hoarse. It's going to be a good vibe. Thank you, Linda. Someone said they're annexing the West Bank now. Yeah, that's a dicey situation, but we'll talk about it. We'll ask about it. I try not to get into that too much because one, I don't know that much about it, but also it's like two people fighting for land. It's never a fun time. But I'll ask questions about it tonight. No worries, Leon. All right, I'm out. So I say you make sense. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna go out. I don't want to go live. I don't want to stream and mess it up. So I'd rather just record it. I'll record it. I promise. I'll put it out in the morning. I'll make sure it's out. It's gonna be good. Even if they get mad at it, it should be fine. I think it's good. So appreciate you guys. Have a good one. I'll be back. Maybe a video later today. Definitely, I'll put it out live in the morning. But yeah, that's what it is. A Christian, a Muslim, and a Jew. I think it's a smash hit. We'll see what happens. But a three-way conversation, asking the tough questions, going where they won't go. That's what it is. Appreciate you guys for being here. Be back maybe later today with a video. Definitely tomorrow morning with a video.